projects, rich is whipping that black hard. I'm just saying, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Right to job, lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world. Yo, my mental vision, setting up intuition. And you really don't have nothing if you intuition. I work with light just to give birth to life. I was born in all forms in the perfect night. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. I am the ruler. Just like the line of Judah, my third eye was built like an iron computer that's dark matter and deep thought making your heart shatter. I sleepwalk, talking with smart chatter, so I don't need you to ride or die with me. I got ancestors that vibe from the other side with me, and they beam up life after death. We got noses on our eyes cause the light's a breath. My priceless flesh, the final copy, look like Anunnaki. Black God, got big lips and black bra. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. I'm just saying, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard, got big lips and black bra. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Right to job, lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world. Yo, the black guard, got big lips and black bras. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. My rhymes the same, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James, that nigga is a black heart. And you wonder why we spit lead. Just the whole raps, niggas got big heads like Olmecs. Way that I'm writing is more than vague. This is the age of enlightenment. We the Moors in Spain. Now that your honor, I pray to a black vagina. Even the Pope prayed to the black Madonna. In the sun, I shine as bright as I be. I'm the greatest of all time, like Muhammad Ali. And when I die, baptized in the fire. Only fly at night, black skies are higher. Prior to job, my lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world, rubies and pearls. The black guard, got big lips and black bra. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. I'm just saying, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard, got big lips and black bra. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Right to job, lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world. Yo, the black guard, from infinite to infinite stars, it's infinite light. My life's got an infinite charge. The instruments I implement to give strength to your heart. The temple within, the imprint, mimic the art. Into the dark, the dragon spark the fathom from a higher consciousness. I talk with atoms, I live in the land, and I live in the stars. Original man, I am the image of God. Call me Tut Ankh-Amen. I cut diamonds, so as long as I live, nothing can stop shining. You gon' need to be in the bins to drive me crazy. Live on CNN, hearing cries from Haiti. You know the people down there trying to hide them babies. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. Black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. I told you, all of my critics, I told you all that I was the greatest of all time. All of you, I know you got it. I know you got it. But the man didn't come. I'm going to show you how great I am. I told you, I'm the real champion. I told you, I'm the champion of all. All of you know. All of my critics, all of you know. minute I get in it about the way these rappers spit it. The minute I start spitting that truth, it comes a critic. I freestyle off the top like removing your Yankee fitted. But they not really checking for skills, they want the gimmick. Many of the challenges we face, we can solve them. But there's no trust, no unity, and that's the problem. Black people fighting amongst themselves, that's the problem. White people fighting amongst themselves, that's the problem. U.S. foreign policy is simply just bomb them. Rebels against their own government, the U.S. arms them. Then when things get out of hand, yeah, they try to calm them. More money, more diplomacy, just charm them. If that doesn't work, then they move to Osama. Turn them into a terrorist so they can disarm them. Through the corporate media, we don't stand a chance, but too many people want us to just stand and dance. So as long as I'm dancing, acting or rapping, walking around like I don't know what's happening, you like me, you like me, you like me. If I'm talking about drinking and not about thinking, as long as I'm high and I never ask why, you like me, you like me, you like me. You like me, you like me, you like me. You like me, you like me, you like me. Peace, 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 peace. You're now rocking with the best. Your brother Hanu Kiel, aka A1, aka Thompson's one. Shout outs to all the Aborigines North South Central as well as the conjoined islands. Let me just make sure my mic is up and everything before I even get into it. Okay. Alright, there you go, right there. Sorry, I haven't been around for a minute, man. I've been having a lot of business issues and trying to get my business and trying to get things in order. But I ain't never too far away, you know what I'm saying? Tonight we got my brother Ahanu Kiel, as always, coming through with some good information. You know, always a heavyweight jam. You already know how we do, man. You know, shout out to everybody in the chat room. Shout out to all the brothers and sisters, man. I actually miss you guys as well, man. So, you know, I ain't go nowhere. I'm still here, all right? Let me see. Kota, you with us? Let me see. Let me unmute your mic.
What's good, bro? How you feel?
Peace, 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 peace. Peace to the brother, man. How everything going on with you, man?
Oh, everything chilling, bro.
Oh,
Give me
hey,
here, man. Over here, just hanging out a little bit. Hey, give me 1 second though.
all right, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, man. Like I said, man, you know, information's still there, though, man. You got a lot of brothers and sisters out there putting together some good information. You know, some of the original ones, you know, some new ones, and you know, some of the same clowns and you know, same jokesters that have been around or whatever. But nonetheless, though, you at this point in time, you got a variety of different Aborigine channels that you guys can rock with, and you know, and get information. So as far as me, you know, I'm just laying back right now. You know, I'm just trying to handle things I gotta handle. And honestly, I really haven't even been in A1 mode for a minute. But you know, I'm still A1, still doing culture freedom, still building with the elders, still, you know, I'm still doing what I'm doing. I just ain't doing a lot of stuff on YouTube. I ain't more the YouTube talk show host type of guy no more. I'm you know, just out there in the world, out there with the people, interacting with the Aborigines and everybody, you know. So, you know, like I said, the information is still out there. You got a lot of brothers and sisters that promote and present good information. You got a lot of channels, man, a lot of people out there that's building, man. So, you know, you back with us, Coda?
Yeah, I'm back in.
Okay.
Back to finish, bad boy. Now,
Uh,
what was you saying, bro?
I hear you got some music playing in the back, man. I hear you got.
Yeah, man. You know, so it ain't all like totally quiet. You know, get a little background ambiance and whatnot, man.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
Rule right there, be like, hey, if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah,
Do it, y'all.
shit. I ain't mad at you. At least that's some mellow. That's some mellow shit. That's something you can really, you can speak to. You can flow to. That's like something like like a poetic type of, beat or a mellow type of beat.
Yeah, man, just getting into it, getting some atmosphere up in this bad boy. It's always good to set the tone, set the space. If you're gonna have some good conversations, and let the power of the good minds rule the day. You feel me?
Yeah,
So that's how we getting it
no
in.
doubt.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of good. I heard you were talking about a lot of good information out there on YouTube, and there is some good information out there. There's also some misinformation out there, and there's and everything in between. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got their take on it, but I'm glad to see the message is getting out there. As apparent people are waking up, and when people first wake up, there's a lot of challenges. They all have to overcome, and that is the barrage of misinformation that's out there. And a lot of our own people, the sad part, a lot of our own people putting that misinformation out there, whether intentionally or unintentionally. I don't know anybody personally to know their political views, and even if you was to have a conversation with somebody, they ain't gonna tell you. You know what I'm saying? Umar Johnson ain't gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm selling out to black folks." Black folks, hilarious. Can y'all dig it? All the Pan Africanists and all them cats, man, they ain't coming out there telling about they misleading the people. The Hebrew Israelites ain't gonna come out talking about they really misleading the people. Even though different people go through these different schools of thought, and they come up like, man, that ain't working for me. And then you got a lot of even in the Aboriginal circles, you got some people may lead the people down the wrong path. Some people started out strong. What you got? What's my man name? Cremeo or something like that. He's giving out some great information, and then it's kind of mingling in with other things, Mongolians and those people. So it's a little bit of misinformation, between like the Aborigines, us, and everybody else. Everybody else is over here claiming our stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's not enough to say that you're Aborigine these days, and that's fine and dandy. But it's even better when you express it through your actions. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me say something to that, right? You
Uh,
know, let me say something to what you just said. You know what it is? People get carried away with that term Indian, right? To where they think that all Indians are Aborigines, right? But that's not true. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And they show us in our primitive form. They show us not having no type of um real culture, like something that's modern, or that's still exceeding now to this day. Like a lot of things that we was doing here in the Amaruki is still things that we was doing thousands of years ago that the European learned everything from us. Everything that you seeing now is just some things is being done inorganically. We done things organically. You see how, just for example, look at agriculture. They got a lot of GMOs, right? We was always doing stuff organically. This whole system that which we live by is an inorganic system. They just took our system and made it fast paced when they realized that you couldn't produce enough of the things that we was producing. They had to start trying to speed it up. You know what I'm saying? The same example how they grow chickens and how they clone shit, and the same thing, because everything is about business. But back to what we was talking about, about certain individuals and how they get lost and how they want us to mingle in with the mongoloids and all that. Listen, none of these mongoloids have ever spoken up for none of us. They're speaking up, you know,
Ever.
they speak up when you in first person, but they're never going to go on TV or in the United Nations or any of these what I'm saying, these learning institutions or these public institutions, and say that we was already here, because they are part of the people who've been paid off to basically keep us in the same system that we
Well,
in. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing about them people that a lot of people don't realize. They got to deal with the United States. Now, I ain't going to lie. And no one can lie. Well, there's a lot of people just omit a lot of shit. It ain't, you know, I don't know if an omission is a lie or just you ain't telling somebody something. But they omit a lot of stuff. Those people, so-called Native Americans, there's a whole deal with that. That deal came about with the Alaska Purchase. You know what I'm saying? That whole Alaska Purchase joint. Let's do a screen share. See if I can. Best on the computer. Okay. Copy that. Select window or screen. Okay. Do I? Huh. Select window. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. All right. So if I change, did the screen change when I changed? I don't know if it did or not. I'm attempting to
hit on the StreamYard, right? You see at the bottom where you got mute, start cam mic,
share, and then it says StreamYard. Okay, allow. I see. Allow.
All right, there you go. You in there.
Okay. So those Title 25 Indians, and I call them Title 25 because the United States Title Code calls them Title 25. Well, they don't call them Title 25, but they're incorporating what's called Title 25. So the first thing we got to understand about the term Indian, I like the fact that you stated that, is people got to understand there's three definitions to this term, right? There's an adjective definitions and some noun definitions. It's all an adjective from Aborigines from our point of view because these terms are not native in our tongues or in our native tongue. So our ancestors would have never called themselves an Indian or anything else that's coming out of people's mouth. You know what I'm saying? Just wouldn't have did it, to include Choctaw, Cherokee, and all this other stuff. That's provable. But with that being stated, those are terms that our people have gravitated to because other people called us those terms back in the day, namely the colonizers when they got here. Just like people calling themselves blacks and African Americans today, same thing with Cherokee and Choctaw and all this back then, even though the people as a whole didn't refer to themselves as that. Same way, just like all of our people as a whole don't identify as being black or African American and all that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? So you got a few people attempting to speak for everybody, but they can only speak for themselves because ain't nobody elect them. None of those people to any office of anything, period. You know what I'm saying? Can you dig it? So, you know, let's let the law speak on that. But definitely the term Indian in one sense means an inhabitant of India or South Asia. We're not from South Asia, so pertaining to India or Hindustan, that's what they call those people connotatively. The Hindustanis, so-called Indians by not them, but other people. Latin term, so it comes from late Latin right there. So it's a late Latin word. So Latin ain't our bag. That's a European language bag right there. So again, the Latins, the people who spoke that term, Indianos, from India. See, India. Then, here's the second sentence. So that's the first sentence. Pertains to that. Second definition of Indians. Second definition, number 2. Applied to the Aboriginal native inhabitants of the Americas. So that's the second definition. So when we state Indian or Indian not taxed, we're referring to a lawful phrase as enshrined in the Constitution in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. But are we Indians per se? Not necessarily, but if you mean the Aboriginal native inhabitants of America, then Indian may apply as long as you make sure that you're the Aboriginal inhabitant, the Aboriginal beings of this land, then you good. But that's the second definition. The third definition is those so-called Native Americans, right? The Native Americans also calling themselves Indian, which are these people. To look that up, You got to go to a thing called American. And that also will give you who the Indians are. Since the Indians are the aboriginals of the Americas, then an American is one of the aboriginal peoples of the whole of the Western Hemisphere, was already here when the Europeans and other colonists got here. So we were already here. So American, so-called Indian, either way, aboriginal peoples of the land. Again, this from medieval Latin, Americanas, and they got that from, well, still over here, America. The original sense now, these new Indians, on the flip side of the coin, second sentence, flip side of the coin, these now Native Americans are, in fact, residents of North America of European, originally British, and, parentheses, but that could be originally Mongolian, originally whatever they want to put in there. Descent, European descent. So you can see how they started one way and then flip back another way. Can y'all dig it? So with that being stated, the three types of Indians, to recap: people from India, the Aborigine peoples of the America, us, and then you got the fake Indians, or what they call the $5 Indians, the Title 25 Indians, which are in fact of European descent, Russian, and all of that stuff, Siberia, Mongolia. It's all Tartary, it's all Asia Tisca folk. Can you dig it, bro? Asia Tisca folk. You ever heard of that? The Asia Tisca folk. Where you at, bro? Asia Tisca, man.
Y'all I'm right here. I'm right here with you. Go ahead. I ain't gonna stop you.
So Asia Tisca folks is those family lineages as a whole. So here we are, Asia Tisca folk. Who are the Asia Tisca folk? Well, you got the Caucasians, right? Caucasians. All the way to the Asiatic black man. And everybody, as you can see in this daggone chart, listed 8 people in between. The Tartars, the Berbers, the Europeans, the French, the English, the Spaniards, all of these people are Asia Tisca folk. Here's their faces. Take a good look at them. This is who they are. No matter what they call themselves, no matter what name they give people, don't stop them from being the same people from that region. Don't matter if they calling themselves a Tartar, which back then was Russia and all of that stuff. All of that stuff. India and China. China was close up towards where Arabia and all of that would be, and Turkey and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? China used to be in that location in maps of back then. But the Tartars, some of these I can pronounce, some I can't, but nonetheless, you can make out some of them. The Japan, Koreans, the Negrito. See, Negrito. So all of these people are Asia Tisca, and all of these people invaded America. All these people are still invading. They still here. They call them immigrants today, but they was immigrants back then. The problem is everybody wants your and mine land, and it's not there. So they want to lull our people to sleep so they could just take it over. They already call it the melting pot of immigrants. Like wasn't nobody here when they got here. Oh, there's plenty of people here in towns and cities and all kind of great establishments. You know what I'm saying? All kind of great architectures and ways of life already established before these people was even thought of. And they got greedy, just like they still greedy. And they still coming over here exploiting the land, exploiting the people. Period. It's called commerce. Everybody know it. Everybody's feeling it. Everybody's engaged into it in some form or fashion or another. So, hey, but here it is. And every time you want to rent something or get something from somebody, they looking like these people right here. It's true or false? Like, who you paying your rent to? Who you paying your electric bill to? Gas bills, water. Hmm? Hmm. So when you think about it like this, now it puts a whole different ball game. But certain groups of these people are the so-called Native Americans. But nonetheless, they are all residents of North America of European descent. So let's see why they call them Title 25. So if you go to 25 USC, guess what it deals with? These Native American Indians. And it's important that you understand what Indians they talk about. So for that, you should just go straight to the definition. So we're going to go to the definition section where it states, well, we're going to look at a few things before we do that, but let's look at agreements with the Indians. So if you want to know the agreements, a lot of people talk the treaties and all of that stuff, which is true, but here's the thing, the treaties ain't mentioned in here as such. So they do have a subchapter on treaties and contracts with Indians. So let's see the treaties. See, it's going to be future treaties and then getting rid of the treaties, abrogating the treaties. There's nothing on existing treaties. There's no extra section for existing treaties. No 73 right there. None of that. So you just got treaties in the future. So let's see what type of future treaties these people can make. And these type of Indians, so-called the Native Americans, don't have any power. They are, in fact, wards of Congress, as outlined by Bouvier's and outlined by the Alaskan Claims Indian Act and all kind of other stuff. But nonetheless, it states here, 25 U.S. Code 71, future treaties with these Indian tribes, in quotes that I'm putting up, my air quotes, states no. No, that's not a good way to start off a sentence. No. No Indian nation or tribe within, now keep this in mind, it's within the territory. That means they are part or under the jurisdiction of the United States. So within or under the jurisdiction of the United States shall be acknowledged. No Indian nation, we can cut to the quick, or tribe, let's cut to the quick, shall be acknowledged or recognized as being what? As being what, bruh? As being a what? What does it say right there?
We said, hold up, where you at?
Right here, the highlighted joint.
No other Indian nation or tribe shall be acknowledged or recognized as being an independent nation, tribe, or power with whom the United States may contract by treaty.
Boom! They tell you right there. All people got to do is slow down and understand what that means. So they telling you that no Indian nation or tribe that's within the territory of the United States, meaning the Native American joints, they're not acknowledged. They're not recognized as being independent. What they are is a domestic dependent nation in the eyes of the Constitution, because they gave up their tribal rule to go play U.S. citizens. And once that happened, there was a special category made, and then the deal got progressively worse. But it states it right there. It's not an independent nation. Can you dig it? Not at all. You go to Bouvier's Constitution Dictionary, under the second definition of Indians and the first definition, let's look at the two. So let me go back up one. Let's back up one. So the reason why this dictionary is important, because there's some text in the Constitution itself. And when we're talking these primary documents, we have to have the definitions for the primary documents. So the primary document being the Constitution itself, which is non-debatable. So this is a law dictionary adapted to the Constitution so you can understand the terms that's being stated in the Constitution. For when it states in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, and excluding Indians not taxed. Who are those people? What does that mean, Indians not taxed? Can you dig it? What does the term tax mean? And why is it important to understand that Indians are not part of this tax thing under Congress and all of that? So that is the separate jurisdiction right there. But a lot of people often misunderstand the connection to that. So getting into it, this is the definitions found. So when we talk in Indian, this is the only acceptable source. And again, you got to know which one you are. So in this first sense, Indian, the primary definition, which doesn't have anything to do with the number 2 and number 3, because 3 different ones. Primary definition is us, which are the aborigines of this land, are so-called Indians. So the aborigines of this land, you and I, are so-called Indians. We like to call ourselves Onkwe or original beings, but you can call yourself the Aboriginal Americans, the original Americans, etc., so on and so forth, just to clarify the type of American that you are, or so-called Indian. But remember, the aborigines of this land are so-called Indians, meaning not ain't really the Indians, but so-called, just the term that they use. So since it's just a term, the term primary definition, the number 1 definition of Indian tribe, means a separate and distinct community or body of, again, the Aboriginal peoples of this land. So that's us right there. Indians not taxed is that. $5 hollers and everybody else, those tribes that are situated. Now, second definition, Indian and Indian tribe. Second definition, such a tribe situated within the boundaries of a state of the United States, which is right here, because these people are within the what? The boundaries of that, or within the what? Within the territory. See that word within? They use it very, very slick like, don't they? True that? Got to look at how they play in the word game. So these tribes are people or within the United States, within that boundaries of a state, and those people are exercising powers of government and sovereignty, but they're doing so not as an independent people, but they're doing it under the national government, meaning they are deemed politically a state, like the state of Michigan or the state of New Jersey or the state of New York or the state of Florida. Be like the state of Choctaw, right? The state of Cherokee. That's how they look at it as. That is, it is a distinct political society, just like the state of whatever or the town of whatever, capable of self-government, and is not deemed a foreign state in the sense of the Constitution. It is rather a domestic dependent nation. And that matches up with no Indian nation. Those nations or those tribes shall be acknowledged or recognized as an independent nation, a tribe or power. This is why this right here, I'm going to go to this comma. They're not acknowledged as being independent because they are acknowledged as being a domestic dependent nation. And those Native American tribes are properly deemed in a state of pupillage, and its relation to the United States, just like the state of Michigan and everybody else, resembles that of a ward to a guardian. See, meaning the United States is their mom and daddy right there. Can you dig it? They ain't our mom and daddy. It's our land. You feel me? So we ain't them. We not them. But a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people go down the rabbit hole backwards and don't know law. And when you're talking about so-called nationality and all this other stuff, you're really talking law. And if you don't know law, then just saying words just to be saying them for saying them sake is just, well, don't do anybody any good. And it leads one who really want to do something about it, at least sends them off in the wrong direction. So when they come back, they all sour from the experience because, they've been led astray, led all wrong. Nobody teaching law out there. Ain't nobody teaching people how to really read this stuff. And everybody reading it from their perspective with what they've been taught of how to read in high school and college and whatnot. That's what's been taught to them by, well, the people who created the high schools, the colonial school systems or whatnot. So that's a problem right there. So, a lot of people got a lot of stuff to overcome, but nonetheless, we overcome some stuff right now. So we're not the same people at all. Not at all. So that is those Indians. But let's get more into it of who these people are. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. We'll go to the contracts. Let's get into these definitions, right? Contracts and agreements with the Indian tribes, right? Here we go. Under that, we see the what? What we got there? We got the who? Definitions, right? So we'll let the United States tell everybody what the hell these Indian tribe means, what this term means. And the states, the term Indian tribe has the meaning given that term in section 5304 of this title. So we'll click on it. Boom, there we go. And here we go. The term Indian means a person who is a member of an Indian tribe. Okay, fair enough. An Indian tribe or Indian tribe means any Indian tribe, band, nation, or other organized group or community. Listen to the terms, including any Alaska Native village. Alaska Native, that's why they always be like American Indian or Alaska Native. Census records and all that, they mean the same thing. Regional village or corporation as defined or established pursuant to what? The Constitution or to what? What they got to go by? What's that? What they go by right there?
Alaskan Native Claim Statement Settlement Acts.
Yeah. Alaska. Who? What part of damn Georgia is Alaska? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? What part of Florida? Man, these people are the brand Nubian. So to the land, these people come under a whole different deal. At one point in time, Russia, so-called claimed to own the part so-called known as Alaska, so-called. And during some time right after the Revolutionary War, somewhere around that time frame, shortly there before or after, the president at that time, don't know his name, y'all could go and look at that, the 1860 something, look at the Alaska Purchase, right? Or we could look up that real quick just so I ain't. And this is why these people got a different deal. Alaska Purchase. We never go to Wikipedia, so we'll go to history.state.gov. Everybody, if you don't know, I guess the United States know their history better than anybody, since it's all written by the so-called white man anyway. You know what I'm saying? That everybody want to claim, well, it's written by them people. Everything that you read is written by them. Matter of fact, every word that everybody say is written by them people, because y'all speak in Latin. Not English, but Latin. Look up all the terms, and most of them have Latin, German, Germanic roots. Saxon and all that. But with that being stated, the purchase of Alaska, there we go, 1867, shortly thereafter the Civil War, marked the end of Russian efforts to expand trade and settlements. So Russia was expanding their trade and settlements along the Pacific coast of North America. Listen to the word. Settlements and trade. They ain't the people of that area at all. At all. Beginning in 1725, when the Russian, then the Tsar, Peter the Great, dispatched Vitias bearing to explore the Alaskan coast. Russia had then taken an interest in the region as some of their settlement efforts in our lands. All of these people brand new, man. They ain't the people of this land. Look, 1725 don't say you old. True that. They be making up stuff, man. These people they made up all the history, boy. Trust that. But anyway, the United States expanded in the 1800s. And anyway, Crimean War, etc., so on and so forth. The Alaska Treaty was made, though, 1867, when Russia offered to sell Alaska to the United States in 1859, believing the United States would offset the designs of Russia's Great Revival in the Pacific. Great Britain. So they was going to team up together to get Great Britain up out the joints. The looming U.S. Civil War delayed the sale. So they was going to do it before the Civil War. But after the war, Secretary of State William Stewart quickly took up renewed Russian offer. And then on May 30th, 1867, agreed to a proposal from the Russian minister in Washington, Edward de Stockel, to purchase Alaska for $7.2 million. The Senate of the United States of America and Congress assembled, approved the treaty of the purchase on April 9th. And President, there we go, Andrew Johnson signed the treaty on May 28th. Boom. There you go. Right there. So them people ain't from here, man. All you got to do is read some law and a little bit. Everything else is just conjecture and hearsay and theories. Can you dig it? And that's what they go off of. That's the social engineering aspect of it.
And they get too carried away, like I said, with that term Indian. Oh, you're an Indian, but you don't know what type of Indian or what type of Aborigine you are. You think you are them people that live in fucking teepees and live on the goddamn plains when your people live in the South. And your people had, even if you want to say log cabins, cities, towns, we had structures here. We wasn't living like no primitive people. But you get these guys that want to keep on coloring pictures and showing you these primitive people, and people like, oh, that's no, that's not true. Your people had science, man. Whether you agree or you disagree. We wasn't no primitive goddamn people. We had government here. We had rules. We had structures. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't allowing our people to starve. You know what I'm saying? Nobody starved in America. Nobody starved.
Nobody did, and with good reasons. We had a growing technique. Many today are saying, man, you know, the Mayas, the Incas, the Aztecs, you know, they had the best stuff. Well, we all the same people, because when you look up the Olmec pyramids, Mayan pyramids, Aztec pyramids, they be like the same pyramids. So we the same people, different cultures, but still the same people. Just like today, you go from one part of America to another part, same us, different cultures. No matter where you go to different people's houses, still us, still our people. But even your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, and your uncles got their own life, true that, and their own customs and cultures and stuff they like to do, and this, that, and the third. True or false?
That's right. Up north, we got the same lingo. When you know what I'm saying, like, you know, when you go down the south and you hear people there, you know, you hear their little lingo or what they, you know, their little synonyms for what they got, certain words. Once you catch on to it, you be like, oh, all right, that's like saying, like, you know, my cousin from Washington, and he used to always be like, man, he stole him. And we'd be like, well, he stole him. Like, he stole off on him. And we'd be like, oh, he hooked off on him. Oh, all right, or he snuck him. And it's the same. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, all right, that's the same shit.
Yeah, like soda and pop. You know what I'm saying? If you did in different parts, some people might identify as soda. You know, coming from Chicago, we say pop. And so must be like, man, let's get a pop. A what? A pop. A what? A pop. What you talking? What's a pop? You know what I'm saying? Back in the day. Yeah. Or snaps. First time I heard snaps was when I went to California. Yo, man, what you got? How many snaps you got? What? Snaps? And they was talking about, you know, so-called money, fiat currency. You know, cheese, cheddar. Can you do?
That's right. Dough.
Right.
Yeah,
Butter.
bread, yeah.
Right.
It's the same, yeah. But like you said, it's the same culture, because even when we was talking earlier, you were saying, now remember, you said Florida went all the way to the Yucatan Peninsula. A
It
lot of
did.
people don't even know that.
Hell no. Well, a lot of people don't do this thing called reading, and a lot of people don't know what reading is.
Hmm.
Reading is not just reading words off the page, but when you look at the etymological definition of the term, it means to actually do some daggone research and trials and errors and experimentations and due diligence, and then that's the reading. That's the whole composition of reading. But they watered that skill down to just meaning say the words off the page very quick, and that's called reading. You'll get an A for that. But the student has no comprehension after what they read,
Exactly.
primarily because they don't know what none of the words mean.
Exactly.
And the definitions of the terms they do get is the connotative terms or the slang terms of how the word is used today, the social engineering terms of it all, not the lawful, etymological, truthful aspect or the reason why the word was created in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And since Latin is not our change at will, there's rules to today's language. And if you're going to speak the language of business and commerce or English, so called, then you should learn the rules of that. You know what I'm saying? And they don't teach nobody the whole of the rules of that. You get the watered down education, so to speak.
That's
But
a fact.
definitely, yeah, go ahead, bro. But definitely our chinampas, the way we grew stuff, like you were stating, as shown in some of these images, right? Sustainable, it's like a large scale aquaponics where you got the fish, you got the water, you got the minerals and the nutrients transferring back and forth, and these things are built on water. Basically, they built up when there's no water, and then you go ahead and flood it. Should you want to build something new or repair it, is totally easy to do. Drive posts in the ground. The water's not super deep, so you drive posts in the ground and a lot of sticks in between all of those sections, and a little bit of soil on top, and that's pretty much it. The sticks underneath are arranged to let the water and sediments through, and the roots grow down, and the fish and the plant relationship is fantastic, and will also support weight of all kind of stuff. So, which is pretty awesome as well. So yeah, nobody went hungry. And we had a lot of these cities that would be cities in the middle of what would presumably be mountain ranges and flatlands and or desert-like conditions, but it's transforming the landscape through our terraforming styles and techniques to create these oases and these cities. And like you said, no one ever starved. There was never ever any reports of a dark age in America until the Caucasians and colonizers and everybody came. The Asia Tisca folk came. Period. That's it. Can you dig it?
That's right. And
No.
even when you look at it today, the Farm Bill, right? The Farm Bill is from the USDA, right? The Farm Bill basically is SNAP, WIC, these government pantries that, like, when people go to churches and they be having food pantries, all of that shit is under the Farm Bill. So all of the food, whether or not you work for food or you able to get food from either SNAP, WIC, or these these set up pantries, it all come from the produce of America. You know what I'm saying? So however it go, America feeds America and feeds people outside of America. People come to America just to eat,
I
just to be
know.
able to have sustainable resources. You know what I'm saying? Because without nutrients is one resource that you can't go without. You
You're
can go
right.
without.
I be like, that's their problem, because here's the thing. Because if you squander your resources in your house, does that give you a right to come over mine and take mine?
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
so I don't give a crap why they came over here, the
Yeah.
reasons therefore.
Hmm.
Most of the bulk of the reasons that people don't know why they came over here. Britain was into this thing called penal colonies. So a lot of those colonies, they wasn't sending they best of the best over to America no more than they sending the best of the best to damn Mars. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? To colonize Mars. You don't send your best of the best to do nothing that's uncertain, because you might not make it in the long run. It's a high probability that you won't. So no one is worth any merit or value is going to be like, I'm going to Mars on a one-way trip, never to come back. So those are expendable people you don't really need, etc. So just like those programs today that went on back then, the penal colonies. And it sounds an awful lot like slavery, but it's penal colonies through indentured servitude. Can you dig it? Which is a contract. And it's still going on today, them indentures and contracts. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't look up those British penal colonies. You know what I'm saying? The colonial penal colonies. And that's where a lot of these towns and cities and states get their codes from. They call penal codes or statutes. Did you know that? Like if you look up penal code, it means a statute. And they always passing statute codes and policies, ain't they? Ain't they, bruh? So a penal colony, Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's do some quick. Distant or overseas settlement. If you in Europe and all of that, established for punishing criminals by what? Forced labor. Some people call it slavery and isolation from society, but they were sent from Britain, not Africa, none of this stuff, from Britain and all of that stuff. Never forget the Slavs is where the term slave comes from. Those people are the slaves, aka Slavs, by very definition and history. But
that's a fact.
Although a score of nations in Europe I won't say Latin America, come on, it's already here. We ain't transported. They transported everything to America, those damn Latins. So they even skewing it in here. But from nations in Europe to Latin America, transported criminals widely to the widely scattered penal colonies. Such colonies were developed mostly by the English, French, and the Russians. And then all the people who came here represent the 13 colonies, the 13 nations of Europe, those penal colonies, etc. What? Didn't tell us the game. We didn't know. England shipped criminals. Now, how easy is it to change criminals to slave? Very easy. Reconstruction. You gotta love it. But the criminals to America all the way up until the Revolution, when they so-called abolished slavery and all that. All convenient shit, ain't it? Wow. Is that convenient? But they never talk about this. They want to weave the story that we from Africa and all that bullshit, but it's really them. They the slaves, because here it is right here. Can you dig it? And people always be lying about stuff. Social engineering ain't no joke. Social engineering is no joke. All that social engineering stuff is based off theories, because when you break all that slavery stuff down, it's still just a theory. Period. When you look in your own lineage, when y'all look in your own lineage, ask your mother's mother, and all along those lines, was anybody slaves? Like directly. Don't go on the we all was slaves. Don't do that. Ask your mama, Ma, was you a slave? What your mama gonna say? Hey, what your mom gonna say if you asked her was she a slave? She gonna say yeah.
I mean, according to her general education knowledge, yeah.
Well, no, is your mom gonna say she was a slave?
Yeah, that's a fact.
So your mom gonna be like, yeah, son, I was in slavery. I used to get my.
Oh nah, she ain't going, but she gonna say we.
Nah,
that's in general. Yeah.
That's what I didn't ask, and I know what people always love to give an answer you did not ask for. You know what I'm saying? And we can't allow people to do that, because that's called the sidestep. So the direct question is, Mom, were you a slave?
Nah, she gonna say absolutely not.
Great. That's where it stop at. Then you be like, was your mama a slave? She gonna say what directly?
Nope.
Great. Then you go ask grandma if grandma's still around. Grandma, was your mama a slave? And what she gonna say?
Nope.
Great. And if her mom was around, great grandma, was your mama a slave? What she gonna say?
Nope.
Then shit, you see what I'm saying? So if everybody did that directly, problem solved. Problem is, people don't want to do that. It's all too easy to listen to 23andMe and DNA.com and everybody else to give you your family history instead of you asking your own lineage, communicating with your own people, what you need to do anyway, because everybody's so ashamed of their history, they past, or maybe what they became, to even talk to their own people. You know what I'm saying? That's disheartening right there. We the only people don't want to talk to our own people. What kind of crap is that? You know what I'm saying, bro? I don't know. What you think about that? you know, all these different dynamics. So, you know, since nobody has that information.
Yeah. And what you're saying is pretty much facts, because if you go down the line and ask everybody in your family, do they know anybody who was a slave? They're gonna tell you no.
Right.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
call
So
it the COVID syndrome, bro.
yeah, no
COVID
doubt.
syndrome says just because you sick, I gotta be vaccinated. That's what the COVID syndrome say.
Mm-hmm.
Reality be like, just because you got herpes or syphilis, dude, that mean I got to go get the treatments for the shit, or just because you got cancer, do I got to go get the chemo? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You got AIDS, do I got to take the medicine? If you got tuberculosis or whatever the hell you got, does it mean I got to go make sure I'm protected from your ass by going through the treatment too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. They give you treatment even though you never got sick. Half these people running around here taking these vaccinations when the pandemic was, according to the scamdemic, when it was going running around, you know what I'm saying? These people never even got sick. And they running around here, yeah, let me get the vaccine. I've been vaccinated. I'm going for the second. And they ain't just got one shot, but they got two shots. And they got people in line like, yeah, I got the first. I'm up here listening to them like, what? Like, are you serious? Dude, all right, what's inside this stuff that they giving you? I don't know, but they say it's good for me.
They
You know what I'm
don't.
saying?
That's a lie too. Cause no, they don't. They be like, shit, it's a totally experimental drug. We really don't know. And they got it so deep that anybody get the shot, you can't even sue their ass. So it's
Yeah,
experimental. So they don't even know what the fuck is in it, because as long as you sign a disclaimer of you waive your rights to sue, it's on and cracking. You feel me?
yeah.
Human guinea pig.
Yeah, human guinea. That's right. That's a fact.
Human. They
That's
always call it human trials.
human trials. That's what they
Well,
doing
just like
now.
that. I know that's called experiment. That's experiment terminology.
Yeah, human trials.
Yeah, just like
Live.
animal
Yeah.
trials and this type of trials and you know, trials and the tribulations and shit.
This this is a practice run. They practicing on people right now. I mean,
Oh, it's not even a practice run. It's stone cold experimentation. There ain't no such thing as practice when you experiment. Practice means you got something down to a science and you want to perfect it.
okay.
Experimentation is when you just making it up as you go along. So if they practicing making it up as they go along, at each corner it's a brand new thing. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't know what you practicing. You practicing what? Experimenting, I guess. That would be, I guess that's the thing. But nonetheless, that's what these people do. And these
hmm
people from these colonies, these criminals from France established these penal colonies in England and all of this stuff all over the place. And all the things they talking about as slave houses was really penal colonies that they selling as these slave joints. They was
yeah,
penal colonies all over the place. So when you look at the penal colony and understand what it is, then it's like, okay, penal colony, colonial community, often established in undeveloped part of a territory to detain societal prisoners, right? These people had crimes and was treated poorly in the penal colony system. Prisoners were deported to distant areas from their homelands, from where they normally was, to prevent successful escape, to discourage prisoners. So now, if you just change the word prisoner for slave, be all good. From returning home, right? Penal colonies were often located in what they would call inhospitable frontier lands like America, the New World, where unpaid prisoner labor, called slave, right? Unpaid labor, on behalf of their country's colonial settlement efforts. Period. Prisoners remained a central source of labor. Essential. Notice they didn't say slavery was a central source of labor, did they? Did they say that, or did they say the prison labor was? Which one is it? What they say right there, bro?
Hold on, put the screen up below. I can't even see that shit.
Oh, it says, I'm sorry, let me highlight that joint. It says, what
Oh,
was?
let's see. Prisoners remain as central source of I can't labor. Okay, I can't even
Essential.
say it. It's a little real small. Yeah, but
Oh,
nah, I say prisoners remain a central source of labor.
so if
Yup.
they the central source of labor, then what happened to slavery then? Uh-uh.
That is slavery because them was the sloughs.
I know,
Shit.
but I'm just saying. But it don't say nothing about black people, and it don't say the term slave outright. But I'm just saying, if slavery was the central source, and it's saying prisoners were the central source, then they got to be one and the same.
Remember this though. Most black people or most of these people have never looked up the word slave. They just assume that that word means them. We would think if we go to the etymology word or the dictionary and look up the word slave, it'll just have a picture of a black man. It wouldn't have no literature, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, all right, that's a slave." But when you go, when we read the term slave, we'll see that say in the secondary terms, because of the so many slavs sold by conquering people, the term slave came into existence. And we
Absolutely.
can go on and on and on through the definition, and we don't see nothing talking about any Africans bought from Africa to America and put into any of the 13 colonies, that these people were
No,
slaves.
and then they
But the
make it
people,
clear, like right here,
yes, make it, yes.
right here it says it must be remembered for every what type of slave? It's right there. For every what?
Let me see something. Hold up.
For every
Slavic slave.
right for
For
every
every Slavic slave who reached his destination, at least 10 succumb to inhuman treatment during transportation. But even though,
and
when we,
they flipped that to black people, didn't they? Because that's the same
yep,
story.
they flipped it. He filled the slave trade in Africa, Asia,
Yeah.
and Europe.
And
You know
Europe.
what I'm saying? So in Europe. So come on, man. I mean, look, man. If you was to present this to just the most idiotic person, they'd be like, wait a minute, this don't say nothing about no. Listen, the word slave, you would think it would be direct. But then you get some people who are like, well, they were slaves of all people. All right, well, why they don't put it like that?
And it
Why
wasn't
they keep
slaves
saying
all
that the
people.
word slave?
And you're right.
Yeah, but no, no. I'm just
But it's
saying
all
though. I'm
people.
just saying if you talk to certain people, they'd be like, well, everybody was a slave. All right, well, why is it just pointed to black people or people that came from fucking or so-called people that's in America? You're telling us that we came from Africa. Why is it only put on us?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then oh well, all people were slaves at one point in time. All right, well, why y'all not talking about these people then? You know what I'm saying? But as we know, the word slave came from the word Slavic, and the Slavic people are what we assume to be the pale skin, the homunculus people, like we always talk about, or the human hybrids, or whatever term you want to put to describe these individuals.
Absolutely.
So
Like you stated, originally the Slav used in the secondary sense because of the many Slav sold into slavery by the conquering peoples. Now, the conquering peoples are the original Europeans and all the Mongolians and whatnot, so-called black people. All skin folk ain't kin folk. But so-called the black people, or the Franks, the Danes, and the Germanic tribes, or the original Roman tribes. Can you dig it? Those people, Greeks, and all of that. The original Europeans, the original Spaniards, the so-called blacks over there, the so-called. But they originally Spaniards, the House of Brandenburg, and all kind of other stuff. You know what I'm saying? The Sanchos and all of them cats. Can you dig it? Different rank structures of the Roman Empire, nonetheless. And we
and
look up
that and this
people.
Slavic people, right? And look, see, this information got to be reinforced because you got people that's in this so-called originally, well, my shit, my bad. The motherfuckers who say they Indians, say they not Aborigines. But then they'd be like, oh, well, Slavic people, that was in the 1400s. No, motherfucker. The word slave always meant the Slavic people until the Europeans put that shit on
Well,
us. You know what I'm
well,
saying? Until they
yeah,
reversed it,
well, they didn't reverse it. They just applied it to us. They didn't reverse it because,
applied it to
you know, yeah, they just applied it because, again, like you said, the term never applied to us, and they didn't even know who we the hell was really all that much in depth. You know what I'm saying? They just met us in the 13th century.
They did a remix,
Right. Well,
single.
they just applied it to us,
You know?
just like we know a lot of people who sleep will refer to dark-skinned people all over the planet as black. But that's a misnomer. So if you go to Spain, for example, say, oh man, look at them black dudes over there. They don't call themselves the black dudes over there. You feel what I'm saying? So whatever you say about somebody become irrelevant. And that's the same for these damn foreigner settlers. They came over here not knowing nothing about who we are as a people. Can you dig it? And you can find that at the archives in the dictionary. You got to always do the dictionaries, man. Etymology is king, not just in the etymological dictionary, but there's etymology of law words, of all kind of words. But it's a great start. But there's other dictionaries where you could get different etymologies from, such as the Dictionary of Indians north of Mexico. So in this piece, and the reason why this piece is a great read and a great bit of information is that this is at the beginning of the ethnological departments of the United States when they was creating this by acts of Congress. This details and chronicles the creation of the Bureau of American Ethnology and the Smithsonian Institute role as contracted by Congress. It's entitled The Dictionary of American Indians North of Mexico. What they call a descriptive list of our people, different governments, confederacies, tribes, sub-tribes, clans, etc., just different parts of the governments, which would be like state, city, town governments, etc., people, places in our towns, etc., right? Published in 1903, but it was begun in 1879. Those investigations of the present Bureau of American Ethnology were begun. So they started this Bureau of Ethnology in 1879 under the immediate direction of the late Major J.W. Powell. It was understood that a study of the languages, habits, and customs of our people inhabiting the northern portion of the continent, especially the territories that the newly United States was involved in, those English settlements, right, might be made of great utility to Congress, right, etc. So, you know, they go into it. They stay, they wanted to do an exhaustive record of the languages, custom arts, locations, and everything. They taking notes on how to, they call it for the betterment, but I call it military maps. You know what I'm saying? See everything about them, gather all the intel, then go in and beat them up, right? And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So that's what's happening. The word grew as it proceeded, still growing, until the 25 volumes. 25 volumes. See, so where's these 25 volumes at? You feel me? What are 25 volumes? I got a couple of volumes. Well, all the totality of this joint were published. On the course of publication, it came to present the greatest body of knowledge of this kind which has ever, anywhere, in any time been gathered. That's a bold statement, right? Right? The word grew as it proceeded until in the 25 volumes published or in course of publication, it came to present the greatest body of knowledge of this kind which has ever, anywhere, in any time been gathered. In view of the difficulty of finding among the treasures of information contained within these voluminous volumes, it was immediately what is immediately needed on any subject. There had long been the intention of major power to produce a voluminous work called a Cyclopedia of Indian Tribes. A Cyclopedia of Indian Tribes. It's the body of work, the voluminous volumes of it. Cyclopedia of who we are as a people, right? Man, whew. They ain't did that on themselves. But yet they gonna come here and treat us like a science experiment from the day when they get here. Not really bother to know who we are at the beginning. Had no interest really in who we are. They just was interested in conquering and taking resources. That's it. But nonetheless, in 1879, Congress made an appropriation for a report on ethnology. Everything could be you can find it in the congressional records. This is just a point of departure. People can take notes and go here and research it further. See what you find. And ordered all the archives, ordered all the records, ordered all the materials relating to our peoples of North America in the early days of their conquest to be collected by major power and turned over to who? Here's where these people get involved. The Smithsonian Institution. That the work might be completed and prepared for publication under its direction. So they just handing that responsibility over to the Smithsonian. That's how they get their hands dirty. So now we know the connections. 100%. There's the evidence and the documentation, the first-hand testimony that be like, this is what it was. So shit, ain't nothing nobody could do. You can't argue with it. You know what I'm saying? All you could do is go look that up and be like, okay, well, there it is. There's the contract, there's all the reasons and the act and and you get to see all the insides and the outsides of what the deal is. So they took the deal. Since then, they have endeavored to faithfully discharge, however, the duties upon it. So, but with that being stated, we get to the preface. Remember the terms Aborigine as it does apply to us being the Aboriginals or the original peoples of the America, the Onkwe-Honwe. The Indians not taxed. Indian meaning the Aborigines of this land, aka the Americans, aka the original people, the Aboriginal people, the primordial people, the first people, whatever the people you want to call us, that they so-called claim to discover. But again, I won't say that word because you can't discover people. Can't go no place and discover somebody and have your way with them. I can't go to the grocery store. You and I couldn't go to the grocery store, grab carts of groceries, slap some flags on it, talking about we discovering this joint from on behalf of the blase Skippy Woo Wop the Bam, right? And then take a couple of their employees with us talking about we discovered this stuff. We taking them back to our people to show the discoveries that we discovered. Can that happen today? What would they do to us if we did that, y'all? Huh? Hey, what would they do to us if we did that? Me and you went to the grocery store, grabbed carts of groceries, slapping our flags in the carts of groceries, talking about we discovered it, bust out a proclamation roll of some sorts, and by the powers of our religion and our stuff, we just gonna come and take it, and then we come take a couple of their employees and take them back to our people. What would they do if we attempted that? What would happen? 2021. Where you at, bro? Where you go? What y'all think? Whoa, hey. Y'all don't think we would get very far. But this is what these people did. So I asked those people, if it's not okay to do it today, it wasn't okay to do it then. And a lot of people are here under those pretenses, and none of us are responsible for the sins of our ancestors, but you do become responsible for their sins if you repeat their mistakes. And a lot of parents on all sides lied to a lot of children, which are the people that a lot of people hang around today, and that got commentary on everything. So there's a lot of lying going on, a lot of untruths happening, because the artifacts of the past speak for themselves. And those people are definitely of Asia Tisca folk stock right there. That's where them people from. But at the time of the early exploration and settlement of North America, there were encountered many of our cultures, towns, cities, spaces, and places, people and whatnot. And they varied in customs and speaking a diversity of languages. And lack of knowledge, as it states right here, lack of knowledge of the Aborigines and total ignorance of our languages led to many curious errors on the part of early explorers and settlers. So they didn't know squat about us, so they was just talking about you the best way they knew how to themselves, and came up with names that they came up with. We ain't call ourselves this stuff, as they bust out right here. Names were applied to our people to include the term Indian. They had no relation, zero relation whatever, to those by which we knew ourselves, but by which we were aboriginally known amongst ourselves. So they didn't know who we was, nothing about us. They brand new, off the boat, straight up, fresh off the boat. They got the nerve to talk about slangs and whatnot. Man, people just don't get it. If you from across the ocean, you just got off the boat. And if you European, Spanish, and all this stuff, you got off the boat. Atlantic. And or Pacific, off the boat. But they never called us by anything that we knew ourselves from. They never bothered to ask. Sometimes nicknames were given to our people by those people. They called us nicknames on to perhaps some personal characteristic like Chief Roundhead or something like that. Billy Bowlegs and whatnot. We ain't call ourselves that. Sitting Bull and whatnot. You know. I'm just gonna call you Yellow Horse. Crap like that. Yeah. Could have been part of that on to perhaps some personal characteristic, whether fancied or real. So again, sometimes these foreign visitors who these people came over here, just start calling us whatever they wanted to, because they ain't know nothing about us. So they just resorted to calling us whatever. Period. Giving out whatever names, and they still doing it to this day, to include Negro, Black, Colored, African Americans, Think about it. Our people, the only people throughout all history, been called different things since their arrival. Olmec mean rubber people. We ain't call ourselves the rubber people. That don't even make sense. They call us that. We ain't call ourselves that. Ain't found no writing say we the Olmec people. Nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point? No point. But nonetheless, these people been giving us names since they got here. Nicknames or whatever kind of names. Frequently an effort was made, so they claim, to employ the designation by which we knew ourselves by. However, those names were all the time unpronounceable by their tongue, meaning the aliens, the immigrants, the invaders, the conquerors, and all of that stuff, the English, whatever you want to call them, Africans, whatever. Everybody who ain't from here is a colonizer over here. And if they ain't getting no invite from you or me or any of our people, then they didn't get an invite. I don't think nobody else would like people to come into their home uninvited, telling them what to do and how to do it. And those people having total ignorance of who we are in our language. Of course, it was unpronounceable by their tongues, nor could they represent it by their alphabet. So whatever came out was a sorry corruption, which also varied as the sounds and as they were written in as many languages, such as Spanish or Latin, English, which is a combination of Latin and Germanic and all kind of other languages, French, Dutch, Russian, Swedish, so on and so forth, and so on. And they were also written down in as many languages, only to be as grossly corrupted when the next traveler came. So when the next dude came through, he called it something else. Could be the same people, totally different joints. So now we got to look at this stuff very clearly and with a critical eye and a critical mind and say, what's really going on here? What's really happening? I understand what's been going on, but there's a lot to understand here of a lot of the beginnings of the stuff that we are experiencing now. So these people never bothered. Never really bothered. Not really. Can't be bothered with wanting to get to know a people while you're robbing them. Can you dig it? You know what I'm saying? So when we look at some of the terms, like I said, this is a great read. Take your time to read it. But for example, just to go over what they stated, choose something. We'll do a coma, and then we'll do couple of these joints. Achalugas probably mean pipe people. So what if you didn't smoke a pipe? So would you be a pipe people? From so-called Choctaw, keep this word in mind, from so-called this, because we're going to see what this means too. From so-called that, Ashunga, meaning pipe. CASHAPP, but Ashunga don't sound nothing like that, but it means pipe. But he was one of the villages of the Natchez along the Mississippi, the Natchez people, the Natchez Confederacy, which was a part of the Iroquois Confederacy. A lot of people don't know about all of these other nation states. They want to attribute this to these 5 so-called tribes, man, and that's just not the case. It's over 50 nations, well over 50 nations, just like you got,
and look, real quick,
50 states, you know.
Real quick,
yeah.
let me ask you one question to that.
Yeah.
Now, you know, a lot of people out here, you know, that's what they think, that the Iroquois nation was just 5 fucking tribes. Nah, and I tell people all the time, if you look at each of these so-called 5 nations that was part of, well, actually it's 6, but we know it's more than that. But however it go, we could see that, like, out of the 6 nations, all of them was in charge of at least 4 to 5 fucking states, man. States, not fucking cities or areas. States. Okay, like we say, Michigan,
Well,
Chicago.
well, it was actually bigger than that. So you're correct. The 6 came in. You could call them the United States of America, but the 6 came in late. Our laws, the Great Law of Peace, Guyana-Iroquois, Great Law of Peace states well over 50. So our people know our stuff better than anybody else because, in fact, the United States Constitution is both in principle and form on our Great Law of Peace. And they basically stole and twisted everything around because we had the only democracy, not to be confused with democratic and all of that stuff that they turned it into, but only democracy where everybody had a say. A true democracy where everybody literally had a say. That was broken down into 2 houses and a grand council, just like they got the same thing. They got the House of the Representatives, a House of the Senate, and they come together in what they call the Congress. Can you dig it? So we had a Council of the Men and a Council of the Women, and they came together and created the Grand Council. And the Senate Congressional Resolution 76 points this out very clearly. So, you know, there's that right there. Can you dig it? Which breaks it down, which is the Senate hearing once and for all. Just spill all the beans on that. You know what I'm saying? So they stated it was everywhere. And they stated that the United States of America was sending missionaries all over America to badmouth and convince people to drop our tribal rule or to drop their tribal rule and to go be U.S. citizens. That's real. A lot of people don't want to realize that, and that's also reflected in the census. That's why I brought all this up, because all it is definitely connected. You know what I'm saying? So let's pull up the census. In 1850 census, it stated Indians not taxed are not to be enumerated in this or any other schedule, meaning we are a separate and distinct body. We are a government to government relationship with these people where we have the sovereign status in our land. That's according to the contract. Can you dig it? And there's a few sources for this. There's another source, House Congress Resolution 331, which also breaks that down as well. So I'm gonna attempt to bring those up. See if we can do something like hey, check that out. Dang. You know what? I might have to find it this way. Bookmark search. So here's Senate Con Res and 331. So let's do open a new tab if I can. All right, so we'll do that one first. And these mirror each other. So I'll pull the other one up as well. Search. Huh. So y'all could take notes on the website. Boom. www.senate.gov. Primary documents. Everybody else can argue about it later. You know, it's on y'all, but definitely here it is. And it was held 100 Congress second session. And the verbiage is all that counts. So we just looking at the verbiage and the definitions of the verbiage. Outside of that, it's irrelevant. To acknowledge the contribution of the Iroquois Confederacy of Nations to the development of the United States Constitution, and to reaffirm the continuing government to government relationship between our people, the Aborigine people, the separate and distinct community or body of people, us, who have not forsake our tribal rule, our government's rule, our heritage, our ways of life. In la ke ala ke in. Guyana-Iroquois, Gani-Sonowe. but our people. And the United States, which is established in the Constitution. So now the Constitution is a contract between two people. And if you're not part of the contract, like blacks, whites, and everybody else, then you don't get none of the protections thereof like that necessarily. You get federal law protections or privileges and all of that because you're in somebody else's house. And all of that is moving according to commerce. So now that's a whole different jurisdiction right there. So now that's more layers on top of the layers. Can you dig it? And it states, whereas since the formation of said United States, the Congress has recognized the what? What does it say Congress recognized the what status? The who status?
Hold up. It said, whereas the formation of the United States, the Congress has recognized the status of Indian tribes.
The sovereign status. So sovereign means the upper hand in the contract, the superior hand in the contract, meaning we own our land, we got home field advantage. So the sovereign status of our people, and has through the exercise of powers reserved to their federal government and the Commerce Clause to regulate their citizens of the Constitution, which is in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, which outlines the powers of Congress, the legislative branch of government, and who's all a United States citizen to be taxed and to be represented by. It's all right there, but that's the most misread section of the Constitution there is. I've heard all kind of misinterpretations of that thing. Can you dig it? All kind of misinterpretations of that bad boy, but it just don't say what people say it say. You know what I'm saying? So just check it out. U.S. Boom. U.S., USA. Doesn't matter. We're going to go to Cornell Law. He gave a great breakdown. So Article 1 describes the design of the legislative branch of the U.S. government, the lawmaking branch, which is called the Congress, which is those two houses that form the one Congress, just like our two houses form a Grand Council. Congress come from each and every state to represent their Congress, just like our people, our statesmen come from each and every nation state to represent their people. All of America was divided up into 5 principal parts. North America, from Greenland, Canada, and United States to California, parts of that people know. Central America, which was the other half, which of, you know, from let's say Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, on all the way down to the top of, you know, Brazil and all of that. Central America, that'd be 2 parts. South America, 3 parts. East America, the islands and all of that, 4 parts. West America and her islands and all of that, 5 parts. 5 regions. And all those regions had sub-regions. And all those sub-regions, so on and so forth. But everybody had voice, just like senators represent and representatives represent each and every state to come together to make Congress. Our people came from all over the Americas to create our Grand Council. We had great empires and great civilization, and back then it was the greatest empire the world has ever known.
Hey, Kota, excuse me, bro.
So to speak.
Real quick.
Yeah.
All right, you want to go back into the meaning of chalk talk, because I want these people to hear that.
Copy that.
All right.
So, Choctaw, right? Natchez, Mississippi, and all of that. And when we get into it, we see that these people, like Gachette, it's a dude from France, is making this up, right? Marguerite de Cuvier making this up. This ain't our people. Like Ashenik mean at the rock. So what if you ain't at the rock no more? You ain't at the rock, which was a village of the Delawares, which is also part of the Iroquois Confederacy. The Delawares, the regions of New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, and all of that stuff. Virginia, parts of so-called. And again, Heckwilder, also called Ashenik. Acoma, people of the Right Rock, from Acome, now commonly pronounced Acoma or Akko, which is the name of the town. So they just called those the Acomas from Akko. But Akko is the name of the town, not the name of the people. Can you dig it? Akko. That's Mayan all day, night, and tomorrow. The A and the Ko with the glottal stop, which is unique. So Valencia County, Akus, and all of this. So same thing when we go to Cherokees and Choctaws. We'll see all these people who make this stuff up. So agriculture, let's go down. Here we go. So Cherokee, which they say properly Salaki, upper dialect, or Saragi, lower dialect, but who called us that? A deer. A deer. Some dude that ain't from here said that. What? That ain't what we called ourselves, a deer. And he gets the language from Atsala. Well, that shit don't sound nothing like the other shit, so now it's just totally made up. Or Austria, meaning fire, to which he says the Cherokee pay great honors. But then it goes on to state this, Cherokee continue, derivation is not possible. Why? As the leading part of our style always remained Sil, which is T-S-I-L, which is also Proto-Mayan. Sil. Never changing to Tsal, because it's always Sil. The Il part. That's unique. While as regards the latter part of his statement, he states, our people pay no greater honors to fire than to water, thunder, anything else that we used to live and did our thing by. You feel me? We honored everything. Everything was a thing, because that's how we stewarded our thing. You know, we did our thing. Can you dig it? Here comes a dude, Morgan, not our people, come along, add his 2 cents, and correctly renders the word to mean great people. Says a more probable deviation seems to come from Shahalaki, but if you're going to call yourself something, then wouldn't you just call yourself that, and boom, that's what it is? You wouldn't be going through all these changes and the people still there. You feel me? So they ain't even asking none of that. They still ain't asked nobody, right? They all probably, and you know, they doing their own in their own head right now. And then that means upland field. So what type of people would call themselves an upland field? We the upland field people. Would you call yourself that? Let's be serious. Why ancestors that ignorant? Well, they just called themselves an upland field, huh? As opposed to Kalakis, meaning a bottom field. What? What if you're on the flat land? What's that all about? What if you ain't on a upland or a downland? What if it's all like the Utah flats? What if it's just flat from, miles? Then would it be upland or downland if it's level all the way? I mean, yeah. Don't know. Says the Cherokee, which still wasn't their name, being peculiarly an upland tribe. But you upland in Georgia. Okay. No, I'm just saying, like, man, I get it. I ain't saying ain't no mountains in Georgia. Don't do that. They do call that the South. But anyway, states the Iroquois, and these are all languages too, so this is conjecture on their part. They still stabbing. This is to show you the bull crappery that, we never called ourselves really none of this stuff. Called them Oyada Ono, meaning cave people. So if somebody else call you something, and it don't mean that, but I'm just saying cave people, that's another problem. Another cat came along, known him as Kitawa, meaning Brenton called it Kitawa. Brenton said Kitawa. Them people didn't say Kitawa. Delaware states the term signifying that it means people of the great wilderness. But you wouldn't call yourself people of the great wilderness, would you? That sounds like somebody else calling you people of the great wilderness, because everywhere in America was a great wilderness. Can y'all dig it? To them, true or false, people? I mean, what you think, bro? Like, they just not coming over here. Every place a great wilderness. Wasn't like we had cities, but it wasn't like today. You know what I'm saying? Most of it was unspoiled and well manicured land. Another term meant travelers, so they don't even know what this Cherokee and all that stuff mean. It mean all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? All kind of stuff. And it keeps going on and on. Finally, you get to a list that busted out. So at first they was DeSoto in 1539 called those people Achalaki. Can you dig it? And then the Colden map referred to the same people and whatnot. In 1727, later, the Colden map in Schoolcraft, the Alleghenies. Now, keep in mind, all this is supposed to mean Cherokee. Allegheny, Alleghenies, Hall, Northwestern States, Rossin, Feek, and Marshall, Alleghenies, Allegheny, Squire. Look at this. Chalaki, Nuttall Journal, Gentlemen of Elvas, some gentlemen of Elvas called up Chalaki, Chalakis, Barcia and Sanya, Cherokees, Home and Hare's map. See, this is not our people didn't call ourselves this. Can you dig it? Look at that. Everything in the book. Come on. We keep going. So everybody be arguing over the simple stuff. I'm Kitu, I'm this. Man, you the same people. Just call yourself an American. Call yourself one of the people. Don't separate yourself by no name that you didn't create for yourself. See, here's the proof right here. This is the undisputed proof. It was called the Cherokees in one of the treaties of 1722 in Drake, Book of Indians. And they give you the page and the year. So you can look all that up. But Evans, 1755, a little later, Cherokees, Cherokees in different spellings. Chien Nation do. As well as, check this out. What that say, bro? They called the Cherokees the what not to?
The dog, the roof tribe.
Man, dog tribe. So this is all proof that our people didn't call ourselves this stuff.
What kind of dog, though? Hold on. What kind of dog? Fucking Rockweller?
Hey, check it out. All dogs have masters. Don't matter. You a dog. You ain't human. You ain't a man upright. You a dog. Go get him, Fido. Right. Don't matter how big or small or what kind. Shit. Still a dog. Eat that dog food. Sleep in the dog house. And there you go. You feel me? Put you on this leash and there you go. Dog tribe. Don't matter.
Anubis? I mean, what kind of fucking dog? I mean, shit.
Irrelevant. It's just it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It don't matter. The whole species of Caninus. It don't matter. That's my point. It's irrelevant. It don't need you a dog, man. And if you a dog, what's your women? Female dogs. And is your mama a female dog?
Hell to the nizzo.
So it's irrelevant what kind of dog. If I say, well, what kind of female dog is your mama? Like that, man, that's fighting words like that. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't even gonna go out like that. But yeah, it's irrelevant what kind of dog. It's just people call you the dog tribe. If you want to go be Cherokee, Cherokee is the same as dog tribe. Pike Travel said Cherokees, not the people. Gatua, Gachua, Heckwilder, And these Katawa, Gasha, these people change it up like Britain again. Lenape legends, Kitawa, Mooney, Cherokees and Mississippi and all of that stuff. Kitawa, plural Kitawaki, and original name Cherokee band used out by the Algonquin tribe, but not by the people themselves. So that it just gets crazier and crazier till you get to the Rock Shearers, the Rick Shockins, the Shanak, the Salugos, you know what I'm saying? The Talagans, the Talagways. I mean, come on. And it keeps going. It's got like 2 pages, right? So all the way to the Zulikans. So does it make sense for these people to argue if they are the same people? Does it make sense to argue? But that's what they got our people like fatted up like sports and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm this, I'm that. If you ain't what I'm is, you ain't the joint. And we one people, many nations, man. And many nations are one people. Go back far enough, we all got the same start, man. The same light that's in you is the same light that's in me. That is the same light that comes from beyond this you and I verse. You feel me? The collective conscious, the spirit, the gray spirit, whatever people want to call it, don't stop it from being true. We ain't robots. We don't plug in nowhere, so something got to give. Can you dig it? Some people eat, some people don't have to eat, so you can't go by that. So I don't know. You know, we all have fantastic abilities when we put our mind to it. And one thing's for sure, we have the power of choice and the power of our own free will and the power to exercise our rights unencumbered. And there's laws written, such as the Constitution itself, such as House Congress Resolution 331, Senate Con Res 76, such as different United States codes that protect our people, such as 18 USC 241, 18 USC 242, 18 USC 1091, which is genocide and deprivation of rights under color of law, and all this stuff, as well as the treaties, you know, various treaties with the Delaware and things such as the Northwest Ordinances and all of these things, man, come into play, and the artifacts and the, you know, the actual records and maps and whatnot. So you start bringing all this stuff forward, you get to see that. And even more recent times, you got the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which are great documents to look at to see what your rights are being indigenous. You know, you can't be black and get these rights because those are socio-political constructs, not to take a jab at people who, well, it is, I guess it's to tell the people who are calling themselves black to really analyze what you're calling yourself. And even according to the 1997 Office of Management and Budget states that black and all of these terms are nothing more than socio-political constructs created by the United States Department of Commerce. And you got to ask yourself, why is the Department of Commerce investing in people? Why do they care about the decennial census program? Under that is the Economics and Statistics Administration. Then comes the U.S. Census Bureau. And the Bureau is creating these questions and decisions on the design of the race and category and ethnicity. So this is of their citizens, in which Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 talks about, where they go into it and they state, and we're going to put all this together, that all lawmaking powers or legislative powers, which means lawmaking powers that's granted within this Constitution, is going to be vested not in the people of the United States, but in a Congress of the United States. And that Congress is going to consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Tell you that right there, that they make all the laws for their stuff. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Section 2 goes over how that's done and its qualifications. But the important part is those representatives, and the key word is direct taxes And people don't really understand what a tax is, but a tax is, let's look it up. Tax. It's a contribution, but it doesn't mean money necessarily. It can include fiat currency, but it doesn't mean that primarily. Primarily, it comes from Latin, taxere. Well, again, you ain't speaking English, you speaking Latin. Where there's old French, there's directly from Latin, taxere, meaning to evaluate. So they're evaluating you, to estimate, to assess you, to handle you. They do it to censor you, to charge you. So those taxes are in the form of all of that. Taxes are in the form of to touch you, to touch.
To handle you. Hold up. To handle you.
Yeah, to burden.
Who the fuck want to be handled, man?
Well, this is the deal they made to put a strain on. Look, if you don't know what the term mean and you agreeing to contracts that you're not reading, that's your business.
That's right.
But that's your business. That's your own head that you ain't know what the words mean. Don't look at nobody else, because don't shoot the messenger, because you ain't know what it means. You know what I'm saying? Hey, can't do that. But
Indians not to be taxed. Indians not to be taxed, man.
But everybody is to be taxed except for Indians, and you're right. And we'll see what type of Indians only, because all Indians ain't to be taxed. Native Americans are to be taxed, and we'll see that as well. So they not the Indians, not taxed. Two separate, again, three different definitions.
You talking about some of the people that's listening then?
Yeah, some of the people that's listening. I ain't talking to you personally.
Oh, no doubt. I got you.
The y'all out there that's listening, y'all, not A1. So y'all, everybody that ain't me a A1, y'all refers to y'all.
United States
some type of way, right?
United States Indians.
Right, United States Indians. There you go. There you go, man. That's a good one. United States Indians. So yeah, the United States Indians ain't the same as the Aborigine Indians, or the Indians not taxed. I'll say that. They the United States Indians. So it means to put a strain on. Early 14th century, that of censure or reprove. It means to enter on a list or to enroll. Census, all that. An obligatory contribution levied by a sovereign or government. From Anglo-French tax, not English. Old French tax, still not English, right? English is Latin, but there's Latin, so I guess you could say it's English, but you see where the word come from. So when we get down to that's what tax mean, and then we come here to where it be like those direct taxes, those direct charges and censures are going to be apportioned or divided up and assigned according to rule among the several states, meaning all the states going to adopt and agree to operate a particular way, which is going to be included within their union. Because remember, they started at 13, now it's more than that. And it's going to be according to how many people working for them, create or exist within a corporate sphere or in a colony or their state, which it became to be known as. And they're going to determine that by adding and creating a whole number of those people. And they're going to count up all the free persons. The free persons, all free persons got to be taxed and lorded over and burdened, assessed. It don't matter if you public free persons or private free persons, does it? Don't matter if you're on the public or private side. Sure, you still a citizen according to them. True or false? If you claiming to be something that you ain't. Don't you think so, bro? I think they get that up. They do get that up.
That's a fact.
It also includes in that whole number, on top of the free person, it also includes those bound to service for a term of years. That's anybody who's contracted with the United States government, period. You heard of job, you heard of mortgage, have you heard of car payment and lights, gas, electricities? If you heard of all of those contracts and you signed all those contracts, have you heard of school? Have you heard of birth certificate? Have you heard of Social Security, driver's license, marriage license? If you heard of all of those things, and those are things that bind you to a certain term of service as a U.S. citizen for a term of years, period. Those people are included in the people to be represented and ruled over, because all of those things and contracts that you signed are governed by what? Federal law and statutes and whatnot. True or false? True or false, bro? All the contracts they handing people, that's governed by federal law in their jurisdiction, ain't it?
That's a fact.
So by doing that, you waive your right to be in your jurisdiction. Easy peasy. The United States is comprised of immigrants only club. The Aborigines was never meant to be a part of it in the first place, ever. And that's great because we didn't want to be a part of these stuff. Well, at least we thought we didn't. A lot of our people had different ideas. As obvious by today about what's going on. But then it says, so those bound to service for a term of years, which is just contracting in general. Slave or not a slave, it's all contracting. Irrelevant. Any contract with them, they got you. And then it says excluding Indians not taxed. We nowhere in that equation. Indians not taxed. So we're nowhere in that equation. Then it comes back 3/5 all other persons with a capital P at the end. It didn't say black people, white people, and any other type of people. 3/5 of all persons with a capital P means corporations and entities and all of that stuff. 3/5 of that. And that's a fraction number, 3/5. That's not a whole. Can you dig it? So when you add 3/5 and add to that, then to add to that, including those bound to service for a term of years, comma, and add that comma, that makes it 4/5. 5/5 is the free person. So that's equals a whole number. So that arithmetic adds up. 3/5 plus including those bound 3/5 of the persons plus 4/5 of those bound to the service plus what makes 5/5 the free persons make up that whole number. Not included in that equation is the exclusion, which is Indians not taxed. And again, in 1850, in the census, it says Indians not taxed are not to be enumerated or counted in a system. Because this right here, after that, it comes back, the actual enumeration, the counting of they citizens, they people who got to be taxed. The laws, etc., shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States. And Indians not taxed in every one of them census instructions. We ain't to be counted in a stuff, period. But you had a lot of our people that jumped ship. They ashamed, they may not be ashamed of that, but that's their action. And as a child of those people, you was never given free informed prior consent or prior knowledge of full disclosure to make a conscious decision if you even wanted to be a U.S. citizen or not. You're forced into it by the way of psychological genocide, slavery, in the guise of you came from Africa and all that stuff. Not realizing this, you know? So, with that being said, with that enumeration joint, and Indians not to be taxed in 1860, just 10 years later, a year before the kickoff of the war and all that. Let's check this out. See what it say. Just 10 years later. Here we go. 10 years later. And 10 years later, first it was Indians not taxed and not to be counted in this or any other schedule, meaning we ain't no parts of their system as outlined right here, which deals with our people on a government to government basis. The Commerce Clause of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, Indians and excluding Indians not taxed means that they are to deal with us on a government to government basis. They in our house, we ain't in theirs. And that's even further evidence with the treaty with the Delawares, and we'll get to that and move down to that. But let's go over this Article 1, Section 2, and then we'll get to the treaty joints. So we went from being Indians not taxed, and some people drank the Kool-Aid, not everybody, because 1860, they still got the first side of the coin, the head side, let's call it, is Indians not taxed, is still not to be enumerated. So if you still are an Aborigine, You still go by great laws. You still adhere to their heritage, and you do your thing of our ancestors, the Mayans, the Aztec, Toltecs, Olmecs, and any of your ancestors, noble ancestors, then you good. You participate in the upliftment of your people and in your nation state, in your government, you good. However, a lot of people didn't like the way we did it because they wanted to do all the stuff that was afforded to them by the privileges of being a U.S. citizen. Money and all that stuff. We ain't monetize stuff. We didn't exploit stuff. But a lot of our people got a taste of that life and they wanted to exploit stuff. They wanted to play the monopoly game. Therefore, it states on the other side of the coin that the families of Indians, listen close, the families of those Aborigines, the families of the Indians not taxed, not the Indians not taxing themselves, but it could have been their children who grew up, forget you, mom, I'm going to go play Monopoly. To groups of people, man, forget this, man. Y'all want to go over here and play Monopoly? Yeah, let's do that. To whole communities. Yeah, let's all join the United States. The families, those people, they have renounced. They did it themselves. They renounced their tribal rule. They renounced the great law of peace. And now they are under state and territorial laws exercising the rights of citizens. So let's see how that pan out. Boom. And it states those people become this 14th Amendment garbage, which outlasts the rights of citizens. And it states all persons, like them persons, the freed persons. And note in Article 1, they always said persons, and 3/5 all other persons. So all persons, see, all persons. Don't matter if you the free persons, the 3/5 all other persons, any type of person you want to conjure up or create, but all persons born or naturalized in the United States. In order to be a United States citizen, you got to be an immigrant. It's not meant for our people, but a lot of our people jump ship. But all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they live. So you get a lot of sovereign citizens be like, I'm a state citizen, I ain't a citizen of the United States. Well, boo for you, because there it is. It states it right there, as it states in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. All free persons pay tax and got to be taxed by the representatives. All those bound to service for a term of years are contracted with their people. Naturalization is a unique contract between that an immigrant can make, as according to their own laws and Immigration Nationality Act. Those are the laws that govern immigrants and these people in our lands, all commercial stuff. But by you choosing, by one choosing who's an Aborigine, by those Aborigines choosing to be United States citizens under the guise of black, Negro, colored, and any other way that you can conceive of. By professing to be an immigrant in this land and not of this land is either an illegal alien, stateless persons, straight up immigrant under naturalization, acts and laws, Americanized. Not that you an American or United States citizenized. So it states very clearly, and who under state or territorial laws exercise the rights of citizens. Those Indians are to be counted. You see that? They are to be enumerated. And those Native Americans are definitely enumerated. Just like blacks, African Americans, and etc., so on and so forth. All the same stuff, all the United States stuff, as outlined in this next census piece we're going to read, the 2020 joint. So just to bring it full circle, all the same stuff. In all such cases, write down those people used to be an Indian. They not no more because they renounced their tribal rule. And according to our great law of peace, anyone who follows the laws of foreigners has lost all their birthright. So they don't mean nothing to us. They extinct for all intent and purposes according to the law. And the United States reflected on their side too. In all such cases, write down that they used to be an Indian, used to be one. Opposite their new names. And column 6, now they transferred them from an Indian to a colored. You see that right there? It used to be an Indian, now they're what? Colored. So these people, families of Indians, now called Negroes, blacks, coloreds, and everything else under the sun, is going around, the bulk of them, going around proclaiming to be those titles, are definitely socio-political constructs, which has no standing in law. They just as good as property, which is outlined in this memorandum, which is for the record. And it's a memorandum for the record. The 2020 Census Program Memorandum Series 2018.02, January 26, 2018. And it's a memorandum again for the record from Albert E. Fontenot Jr. Subject, using 2 questions on race and ethnicity, etc. And contact Burton Reese, Chief. And here's the phone number right there. So if you got some questions, ring them up and see what's happening. Ask a question or 2. Record the conversation. See how it turned out. But the discussion, they changing how they are orchestrating and how they want people to be within their construct, within their system. But it's important to understand the categories and what they are and the definitions. And it states that all federal, all, not some, not half, but all federal statistical agencies, such as schools, banks, mortgage companies, and any and everybody else, cell phone carriers, internet providers, and you name it, all of them, including the Census Bureau, they all must adhere to the 1997 Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, revisions to the standards for the classification of federal data, because that's all you become, on race and ethnicity, meaning you're their employee now, their property, so to speak. In the OMB standards, they specify the 5 minimum categories. It could be maximum whatever, because they got the other box there, so it could be maximum of whatever. But these are the 5 minimum, meaning it could be a lot more. These are just the minimum categories on the data on race, which are American Indian or Alaska Native. That or is not an either or, but meaning either or, meaning the same, one and the same. Whether you state that you American Indian or whether you state you Alaska Native, it means the same thing, all belonging to them. Asian, all belonging to them. Just like the term black or African American. Doesn't matter if you say you black, doesn't matter if you saying you African American, the or meaning it's taken as the same, doesn't matter, one and the same. Just like Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, don't matter, means one and the same. The or is used in that context. So they own all of these. And white. So this is their constructs, and they're going to explain that. And 2 categories for data on ethnicity. Hispanic or Latino, they own that phrase, and they own the phrase not Hispanic or Latino. All of those are pieces that you could use to be actors in a play or bottled water. I like to liken it to bottled water. Regardless of the label that's slapped on it, it's still a bottled water being pushed around by some corporate entity and being drunk by some consumer, and at the end of the day being peed out or, you know, chucked in the trash or whatever people do with bottles and cases of water out there. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no say in the matter. And the most important thing about this whole thing is they tell you that you become this bottled water right here when they state the OMB standards explain that the specified race and ethnicity categories are socio-political constructs. Are socio-political constructs, meaning they should not be interpreted, as being scientific or anthropological in nature. Ain't got nothing to do with the realities of anything. It's just characters in a play or a bottle of water, and they got you. Hook, line, and sinker, because you become a socio-political construct and not a real entity. You don't become a real living being. You become a socio-political construct. So if you call yourself Hebrew Israelite, socio-political construct, Moorish American, socio-political construct, or anything else under the sun, socio-political construct. Under whatever guise you want to socio-political construct yourself. Can you dig it? So all of those are socio-political constructs, and the most important should not be interpreted as being scientific or anthropological in nature. Ain't got nothing to do with being real bones, none of that. Ain't got nothing to do with heritage, DNA, none of that. It means you just a character in the play, man. That's it. A construct created by the Office of Management and Budget of the Department of Commerce of the United States of America, and you become a product. To argue that all you want to, but here it is. And they also explain that your response to all of those questions are based upon your one's choice of self-identification, which is also outlined in international law. So you could use that choice of self-identification to identify with your people, heritage, and origins, or you can identify as a socio-political construct under the laws, rules, and regulations, and statute codes and policies of the United States and its subsidiaries, and states and towns and cities, and the whole shebang. You could be an immigrant in your own land, so to speak. So they tell everybody right here, they stated right here, that the families of Indians, again, who renounced a tribal rule in 1860 census, and now who under state of territorial laws exercising the rights of citizens, are to be counted as part of their socio-political constructism. So in those cases, the socio-political construct back then they created was write down they used to be an Indian and put them under the heading of color now. Socio-political constructism, right? So there we see in 3 census pieces. Boom, boom, boom. We understand the Native Americans, Alaska Purchase, and these people come under the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, which ain't the Constitution. Can you dig it? Recognized as eligible for the special programs and services provided by the United States to those Indians, which are the Alaska Natives, which comes under the Alaska Claims Settlement Act because of their status as Indians. Separate contract with these people. Separate contract. What to do with the people now became a issue. Those people. In part. Large part, what to do with our people as well. The bulk of which was going to be U.S. citizens. How to handle that as well. Can you dig it? So there's a lot of stuff going on. So when we look at the treaty with the Delawares of September 17, 1778, we see a couple of interesting facts and truths from this era. One being a map, right? So let's where we at? I didn't want to do tabs. What I want to do? Bookmarks. This thing is like in the way. Okay. We'll put it down here. Yeah. All right. So let's see where I'm at. So we'll go to Which one did I do? Number 2 and number 1. Let's see. That's number 2. Okay. So here we got, and we'll pull up treaty with the Delawares. (1778). Right? PDF maybe. Let's do Yale. Let's go back. Whereas from the first treaty entered into, a treaty with our people, treaty with the Delaware or of the Delawares, September 17th, 1778. Congress has assumed a trust responsibility and an obligation to our people and our members, to our government and our people, however you want to put it. But it states it right there in plain black and whites. And the treaty with the Delawares is important because here's the Delawares. The Delawares, or the region of the Delawares back then, 1778, created, published, 1778, subject headings, and we were just talking about it. Commerce, which is synonymous with the United States. United States history up to the Revolution. Headings, cartouches, etchings, maps. So here it is. Check out all of it. The summary. Well, it states Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York are the regions of the Delawares. So all of that's the regions of the Delawares in America. The summary. The print shows a cartouche. An ornament in the upper left hand of this map. Natives, the aborigines of the land, bring fish and furs to a man in European dress. Well, let's look at how these people look on this map of the treaty with and see who these Delawares are. So this is as zoom as I could get this, but from this distance, do these people look like Native Americans, bro? Or do they look like us? Who do these people look like? I got a better copy of this coming up from the same Library of Congress, but this is same year, right? So I wanted to get in year. I wanted to connect the dots. 1778. Who these people look like? Where you at, bro? You still there? A1, where you at, man?
I'm right here.
I was getting your observation on what do these people look like on this cartouche right here.
Them look like niggas around the corner from me right now.
Right? You say, man, they don't look like the Native Americans, that's for sure, right?
Hey, the one in the middle right there look like JJ from Good Times, brother. What's his name? Michael and shit.
Guys. Michael Joint.
Michael, yeah, like Michael from Good Times.
Right. So to show the full map, to show what they're talking about in this treaty, here's the same thing: Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, the regions, Delaware, and America. So we're just going to blow it up. Library of Congress, just a better version, and you get a little bit more intricate. And we can really zoom in now. Now we can really put some eyeballs on it, and we can see the cartouche states the same thing, but we can see this brother right here. It's clearly not one of them hey ya Indians. Straight up, they're not the reservation, the Mongolian character Indians. True that?
That's a fact. Michael from Good Times.
And he don't look like a slave with this long rifle right here, does he?
Nope.
With his smoking pipe, carrying some food right there. And then you got the guy, some animals and whatnot. Birds and whatnot in the etching. And these were done on copper plates first. So what they would do, they would etch these or scratch these in copper plates. And if you made one mistake, you had to toss the whole copper plate out, me buff it out and do it again. But they would etch it on copper plates and then apply the ink to the plate and then apply the paper to the ink in the plate. And then you could make multiple copies that way. Can you dig it? So the etchings that these came from show this guy in European dress, and look at these brothers right here. Again, they do not look like Native Americans. They don't look like the people who really had the treaties, etc. The Aborigines. These are the Indians. These are our ancestors. And a lot of people want to take our place, and that's just wrong. They don't come from these people. Those Native Americans do not come from these people. We come from these people. They don't. So them saying whatever they say is irrelevant when it comes to the actual facts of this map. And this map clearly shows the Onondaga Alliance. Seneca is a river. Seneca River, not a people. It might be people that lived along the Seneca River that they might have called the Seneca, but that's not you. Just because some of your ancestors moved to that part. If they moved to the Onondaga River, then they might have been called the Onondagas or Onondaga Lake. Onondaga Lake. The Oyadales and the Tuscaroras. Spaces and places. So if you live there, that's just what they called you. But right here it says the Onondaga Alliance with the gentlemen or the 6 gentlemen of the Indian nation in council with the 6 gents of the American Federate with this covenant right here. See that? So here is the map. Here's the people. Can't nobody say nothing. It's right here. This the evidence. Be like, boom, okay, evidence A right here. This area that's now called New York was once called Mohawks, right? This whole space was called Awanushionaji at one time. Massachusetts, right? Massachusetts, which is now Massachusetts. So these are the regions called the Delawares. And here's Delaware way down here. So, can't be like the people of Delaware way down here. And the treaty took place way up here. You know what I'm saying? So it's all the same spaces and places. All of this whole area on this map, regardless of what people want to call it. So yeah. So here's some maps, some actual renditions that lead to these treaties, etc. So when people start connecting the dots and understand what the treaties state, and the treaties were for peace, that all offenses of the acts of hostilities by one of the other contracting parties, a contract, just like the Constitution, a contract between 2 parties. And the citizens ain't really included in the contract. The contract is between the Aborigine peoples of this land and their Congress, not between us and they citizens. Ain't that? And they citizens got a whole new deal. They citizens come under the Immigration and Nationality Act. They don't come under the Constitution. That's also in a joint. They got to uphold the Constitution. They got privileges guaranteed, certain privileges guaranteed by it, but overall, Congress get to rule and regulate their life, as stated in the Constitution itself. Because they are to be taxed. Only ones not to be taxed are the Indians, the Aborigines. But Native Americans are definitely taxed, just like every other so-called U.S. citizen or American, as they would say. Can you dig it, bro? So when we go to irs.gov, www, here's the www, is just to proof that statement. 26 CFR states that the service is aware that some taxpayers are attempting to reduce their federal tax liability by claiming tax exempt status based on the General Native American Treaty. The service is also aware that some promoters, including return preparers, are advising or recommending that the Native American taxpayers, which they are the Native Americans, who are the Native Americans, people? Let's remember that. Who the Native Americans? Who are the Native Americans? Native Americans, the Native Americans are residents of North America, originally British descent. So yeah, they got to pay tax. And even according to Bouvier's dictionary, citizen and native, meaning the citizen of the United States. That's why you never call yourself a native anything if you can help it. Unless you mean an Aborigine native, then you better clarify. Can you dig it? Can you dig it, bro? What you think?
That's a fact.
Let's check out what native means. Because remember, India be the separate and distinct community or body of Aborigine people in America, the original United States, so-called. Greenland to Antarctica, the islands in the Atlantic, the islands in the Pacific, Hawaii, and all of that. We ain't the Native American. We are the Aborigines. So the Indian is not taxed. But if you decide to be an Indian tax, then you become within the boundaries of a state. And now you're in a state of pupillage, as acknowledged by all sides. You're in a state of pupillage now. Meaning Congress makes the laws that you got to follow. They're your mom and dad now. But immigrants are supposed to have that deal because this ain't their land. So they can only come over here for commercial purposes, this, that, and the third. They can't come and take nobody's land. All of that's a guise of social engineering, but they can't do it. You don't get to go be a Chinese citizen and get to own their land. You feel me? We can't go from here to London and be a London citizen and own their land, can we? Can we, as a London or a citizen of Great Britain, if you decide to go get British citizenship for some odd reason and you went over there or to Germany or something, can you just go get their land? Yes or no?
Nope.
What about Ghana? You go to Ghana being a Ghanaian citizen. Do you get to own land as a Ghanaian citizen?
Absolutely not.
Hell no. So the same deal apply here. So they ownership be like rents and all that shit, but that ain't ownership. They ownership be like mortgages and all that shit, but that ain't ownership. You can't own something that ain't yours. That's why they got to pay taxes forever on whatever lands they get. Can you dig it?
That's a fact.
And all that is a tool of the United States Congress, tool of the government to regulate the lands that they was taking from us and all that shit. Straight up. When the land have, a land grant ain't a land have. And no foreign nation could give you our land in our house. No stranger could come and parcel off parts of your house and you don't even know it until the people come in to claim it. And can you dig it? That can't happen, but a lot of that happen. But if you was to do it now, they call it breaking and entering, burglary and murder and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, they lock your ass up.
Well, these people do it to us on a daily basis called the police and whatnot. So shit, now what? Now what? They did it as a whole community. Like the Wilmington riots when they took it over by revolutionary methods, took over the city of Wilmington. A whole bunch of white immigrants, as it stated, took over the city of Wilmington and at once established their own government. But the whole city was ran by our people. But they came over and took it over in the coup d'etat. Just like many other city spaces and places. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In general, on both sides, Indians have no political rights in the United States, and nor do we want one. Nor do the United States got any political rights in our nation states, in our government. Remember, it's a government to government, right? So we don't vote for their people, they don't vote for our people. We don't hold none of their office, they can't hold none of our office. But that's where it ends. Then they get real specific. Specificities, like the Seneca Nation, so-called in New York, were considered as citizens, meaning an allegiance to the United States, so that the United States could take over what they call eminent domain, which they did Seneca Village, which they turned into Central Park in New York. And not as aliens, but those people owed their allegiance to the United States government and were entitled to its protections. Yeah, they protected them right into projects, and they protected everybody right to being Negroes, blacks, and colors, protecting them. I don't know the protections was that though. I can't see it. However, on the other side of the coin, in Georgia, the so-called Cherokee Nation in Georgia, which was comprised of all our people, was declared to be a distinct community, meaning Aborigine people. So on the one hand, you got the citizens. On the other hand, you got the Aborigines. So they give examples of both. A lot of our people just call themselves that, but that don't mean that's what you are, because we all that. There's no difference in any of this. We're one people, many nations, but we still divide ourselves by saying I'm this, I'm that, and so and so. So that becomes a huge problem that they play on, a weakness that people have. Can you dig it? So yeah, when you look at the term, what was we at? Native, right? In this joint, native means what? What's that? What's that, A1? What'd that say? Check this out.
All persons born within the jurisdiction of the United States are considered as natives.
Right. And notice it says all who born? All what?
All persons.
Man, just like the Constitution states, all free persons or whatever persons you want to call yourself, all them persons. As long as you within the jurisdiction of who?
The United States.
You are considered by them as what?
As natives.
Two definitions state what?
Natives will be classified into those born before the Declaration of Independence and those born since.
Boom. So they clarify that. They come back with 3, number 1, stating what? Again, all persons. Just like all persons, right? They all personate. Without regard to their place of birth, who were born before the declaration of their independence, because it only applied to those people, who were in the country at the time it was made, and who yielded a deliberate assent to it, meaning that Constitution, either expressed, meaning you signed the contract, or implied, you gave your letter of intent. And you can imply just by remaining in the country, then you were considered to be a native, meaning the colonials who went through the war and all the strife and stress start calling themselves the natives at this time. Those persons who were born within the colonies, they make it clear, before the Declaration of Independence, who removed into another part of the British dominions, and you didn't come back prior to the peace, were not probably considered natives but aliens. So if like your mom went back to Britain but you stayed, you would be considered native and your mom would be considered an alien. You see what I'm saying? From their perspective, they ain't got nothing to do with us. We Aborigines, but they talking about they people. Again, 2, persons, any type of persons born within the United States, they birth certificate from whatever state they come from, since the revolution, may be classed into those who are citizens, those who are not. First, natives who are citizens are the children of citizens and of aliens who at the time of their birth were residing within the United States. They talking about all the colonists again. But when people get that birth certificate, they're saying they one of the colonies. And when our people get it, it's detrimental. It's genocide, bureaucratic genocide, plain and simple. And they force this on people. You don't have to have a birth certificate, but they force it. They press the issue. You're not an immigrant. So if you're not an immigrant, it don't apply to you. So this is what they did. Here's the Immigration Act. The act to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Approved April 14th, 1802, Statute 4 provides that children of the persons who have been citizens of the United States shall, though born out of the limits and jurisdiction of the United States, be considered as citizens of the United States. But the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose fathers never resided in the United States. So it ain't got nothing to do with us. Natives who are not citizens first are the children of ambassadors or other foreign ministers who, although born here, are subjects of citizens of governments of their respective fathers, meaning they still adhere to the government of their people. Secondly, here we go. Indians in general, the Aborigines in general are not citizens. No, we're not, because we're Indians not taxed. So that lines up. However, thirdly, Negroes, and if you claim to be a descendant of the African race in general, although you are a citizen, you have no power to vote and are not eligible to office. So again, those are immigrants. So if you're not an immigrant, stop calling yourself a Negro and the descendants of the African race, because that ain't you. You're an Aborigine of this land, an original being of this land, so-called Indian. So, they speak on natives and citizens and all this stuff. So when we understand it's all a citizenship thing to them, and these people, Native Americans, state the revenue ruling emphasizes to taxpayers, promoters, and return preparers that there is no right to exemption from federal income tax for Native Americans under an unspecified Native American treaty. Any return position based on an unspecified Native American treaty has no merit and is frivolous. Not to mention, as a general rule, but I'm going to mention it, they make it a point here. As a general rule, Native Americans are subject to federal income tax, just like every other, what they call an American or U.S. citizen. Can y'all dig it? And that's the statement right there. That's the caveat right there. So as a general rule, so if you claiming to be this Native American, then you got to pay federal income tax just like everybody else. Can you dig it? That's according to the 26 CFR. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's www.irs.gov, publication IRS-drop-/RR/06-20 PDF. Right? That's what that say. Can you dig it?
So you mean to tell me you ain't make none of this stuff up, right? All this stuff.
And I don't work for the IRS in no shape, form, or fashion.
Okay. So as you see, people, this is not just talk. This is showing you actual facts and showing you documents to back up everything this man's saying. So you can't say he made any of this stuff up. So you guys running around here talking about you natives and you don't even understand what the word Indian mean and all these other terms, and you don't present no information to show it. And this brother have showed source after source after source, source after source after source, and we're going to continue to keep showing sources. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, man. Continue, bro.
Man, that's what's up. If they want to keep going, yeah. Peace up to everybody in the chat room. What's good, people? Hopefully, y'all getting some good stuff. You know, do your research.
That's right. I mean, we
Just
can
a point of departure for y'all. This, trust me, this ain't the
yeah.
whole of it, but this is a good place to start. And rewind the video, pass it around, study it, and
That's right.
study these websites. You know, we leaving this stuff up here a little while. You know, pause the video, jot down what the web page is, whatever. You know, type it in your browser and go ahead and get into it. You know what I'm saying? Sit down with it. Pull up a good Constitution dictionary. Pull up a good etymology dictionary. Pull up a pretty good other law dictionary or whatever you want to pull up, you know, and compare terms and, you know, bring up some US codes. I mean, you can go as
Yeah,
far as and as deep as you want to. Can y'all dig it? But the key is this is good point of departure.
that's right, man. I mean, you gave them enough, man. We could definitely do another bill
Mhm.
whenever you got time, man. But just for y'all out there, this is you see what it is, you see what it's not. People can show you pictures all day of Indians, but ain't nobody showing you laws and showing you legalese that you can actually apply to your life and at least have some type of understanding of what it is and what it's not. You know what I'm saying? So definitely I hope you guys appreciate the brother Kota Ki Bey. A very busy man. He actually does his classes, as you guys know. Like I said, Coda, you gotta put your email out there. A lot of you guys got his email. You're always free to reach out, contact the brother. But those of you who don't have it, you could actually put it into the comment section if you like. And definitely, man, just
Absolutely.
keep learning, keep being teachable. Don't think that just one person has all of the information, but the end game to this all is becoming actual aborigines, not just saying that you are aborigines and can't back your claim up. The key thing to all of this information, all of this research, all of this stuff that's being presented is for you to get into your proper status. And if you're not in your proper status or you're not claiming this on an everyday basis, you run around here being what we said a lot of people on YouTube are talk show hosts. So you run around here being a talk show host on YouTube and shit, presenting this aboriginal information like it's a joke or like it's a goddamn episode. This is real life stuff that people really actually need to obtain to get where they going. And I just one more question before you get up out of here. Do you think Aborigines should be paying for land?
Oh no, no. It's already yours. The thing is they stole it.
Yeah,
So we do as the Iroquois Confederacy Aborigine American people, which I'm a part of and the Inca of, and we bring the awareness to our people through different means and ways. And one of those means and ways is through American Aborigine, the school, and the website to help bring some answers to people, you know, to discover the truth through law, through history. And that's how history is made through the laws and the wars and the stuff that happened, right? All the stuff that happened. So when you trace it from that perspective, instead of from a socio-political construct perspective, it's a different perspective, to say the least. And that's when you start uncovering the real truth, and it may take a while to understand that stuff. So you know, it's a journey. It is a journey. It's not just something you can hear and be like, oh, I got it. No, it's something that you gotta, just like any other school of thought, you gotta give it at least 10,000 hours, so they say, to become adept at some stuff. So give it 10,000 hours at least or more. You know what I'm saying? But give it a earnest shot to really let the truth wash over you and to understand it. So definitely we do that on our class, American Aborigine, on freeconferencecall.com. It's Aborigine underscore Americans with the S. So join online class meeting Sunday 6:30, Monday through Wednesday at 7 p.m. freeconferencecall.com. You can download the app, the Play Store, the App Store. You can go to it just through the website. You can connect via internet and all that good stuff where we break it down kind of like the way we did here, or exactly the way we did here. And we go through everything, you know, piece by piece and compare it in the law and, you know, what it really means. So,
that's a fact, man. thank the brother for coming out here, man.
Definitely don't pay for your own land, man. They took it from us, man. So if they taking something, somebody took your TV. I asked one. We have meetings with like senators, congressmen, representatives, city officials, etc. And I asked one of them, and my question I like to ask is, can someone who you don't know come into your house, steal all your stuff, imprison some of your people, shoot off some of your people, and then demand that you pay them money to live in your own stuff? Can someone do that? Is that lawful or legal? Guess what they said?
What they say?
The same thing you gonna say. Is that lawful or legal for someone to do that?
Absolutely not. That's a negative.
So
It's a no go.
yeah, so I looked at them. I said, that's exactly what y'all did to my people. And y'all still here as a result, because I'm talking to you right now. So those things need to be said in people's face, because that's the truth. They looked at me and said, you're right, you're right. So it's time to have the difficult conversations. It's time to really understand some things so you can get together and have some difficult conversations and come to some truths and come to some solutions and remedies to the problem that plague a lot of our people. And the bulk of it comes from them calling themselves these socio-political construct terms, being caught up in that sauce without giving free informed prior consent, which is an act of genocide under assimilation. Walter Ashby Plecker and whatnot, the creation of the birth certificate and whatnot, the further adding colored to solidify the status of those people in that system. Can you dig it?
That's right. That's a fact.
As the Indians tax now. So
No
if you
doubt.
never had free informed prior consent, then it didn't apply to you, because none of us signed the birth certificate. Nobody signs that document themselves, and no one can create a document for you on your behalf, especially when you didn't even ask them to. Especially when it has lifelong applications, especially without knowing the terms and the conditions of the contract. You know what I'm saying? Only you signing the contract too. It's only you know what I'm saying? It's like so much wrong with that. You didn't give nobody consent. You didn't have consent. You didn't sign anything. And so how that was created as a tool of genocide to erase Indian as an identity, to erase us out the Constitution, to erase your status in that contract. Because if you ain't a part of the contract, then you ain't a part of the contract. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no say in that joint. But if you're a part of the contract, and the most important part that the contract protects, then that changes things, And we need to have a conversation, a serious conversation, because there's a lot of people lying in a lot of different venues and all aspects of this thing. So at some point, the truth just got to come out on all sides. And there's a lot of apologizing a lot of people got to do. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff got to be rewritten and done away with and stuff like that. But as long as, commerce exists and they want to keep people in those trains of thought, then that's just what's going to happen, man. And everybody got free will. So choose wisely, everybody. Choose wisely. That's all I can say.
That's right, man. And I hope everybody out there appreciate this build, man. This brother coming out, like I said again, man. This won't be the last build, man. But like the brother said, if you want to catch him on free conference calls from Sunday through Wednesday, and have your pen and pad ready, man, because this is not entertainment, man. This is actually something that you can obtain to get back what they stole from you. So I hope you guys don't think that, a lot of this research and people taking their time out. This is not fucking entertainment. This is something that you need to be really taking notes and trying to find a remedy to get back what's yours. Because if you take this as entertainment, then this is a goddamn game, and ain't nobody got time to be playing games, man. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, thank you, Kota, man, for coming through, man. Dropping a heavyweight jam for the people, man. Shout out to all the Aborigines, North, South, Central, the conjoining islands. You know how we do, y'all. Definitely appreciate y'all for coming through. And with that being said, man, we out, man. Peace.
Peace. And like everybody. Peace,
And
like
like I like a in.
man, the light in me honors the light in you, for we are the same light. Another saying is one people, many nations. Many nations, one people. We are the American Aborigines. So keep your feathers up, tomahawk of truth in your hand, and remember, always speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. We the American Aborigines, we in here.
Peace.
Peace.